All right, let's dive right into the disorienting, atmospheric world of The Handmaid's Tale. We're going to see, through our narrator's eyes, how a world that seems familiar can twist into something absolutely chilling and unrecognizable. And it all starts with the very first line.
The book kicks off with this single sentence, and right away, it just throws you off balance. A gymnasium. I mean, what do you think of? You think of games, dances, freedom, youth. But those three little words, had once been, man, they just tell you everything has changed. This isn't about what was, it's about what came after.
And this slide just lays that contrast out perfectly. On one side, you've got the then. You can almost hear the music, smell the perfume and chewing gum, feel that hope for the future. And on the other side, bam, the now hits you. Army cots, guards they call aunts, and just silence. It's like two completely different worlds smashing into each other in the exact same spot. So that brings us to our first big idea here, a world erased. The past isn't totally gone, you see. It's more like a ghostly layer that's been written over. The book calls it a palimpsest. You know, like an old piece of parchment that's been scraped clean for something new, but you can still see the faint traces of the original writing underneath.
And this detail is just so powerful. The structure of the old world is still visible. You can see the court lines. The hoops are still there. But the life, the joy, the actual game, the nets, that's been deliberately ripped out. And these aren't comforting reminders, are they? No, they're these constant, painful little jabs about everything that's been lost.
The whole place is just haunted. Not by ghosts in sheets, but by the ghosts of what used to be. The narrator can practically smell the lingering perfume, hear the echoes of old dances, see the girls who used to sit on the bleachers. It's a space haunted by the memory of freedom and choice, and all of that has been completely snuffed out.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit, because it's not just about what's been taken away. It's also about the rigid new world that's been built in its place. This new regime, Gilead, has imposed this incredibly strict social order, especially when it comes to women.
And here's the thing, they've created this brutal hierarchy for women that's often enforced by other women. You've got the aunts at the top, basically the scary enforcers with cattle prods, then the Marthas, who are the domestic servants, the wives of the powerful men, and then there are the handmaids, our narrator included, who have been reduced to one single purpose, their fertility.
Now the men, they're kept mostly separate. These guards, who they call angels, how ironic is that, they patrol the outside. And this is where it gets really complicated, because they are absolutely a source of terror for the handmaids. But they're also an object of fantasy. They represent this tiny, dangerous possibility of connection, a reminder that the basic human desire for contact is almost impossible to kill.
And this quote, wow, it says it all, doesn't it? This comes from Rita, a Martha, talking about a handmaid, and it just shows you that any idea of sisterhood or solidarity is completely gone. The regime has successfully pitted these women against each other. It's a system that runs on fear and the grim relief that at least you're not on the bottom rung.
Okay, so let's zoom in now, from the whole society down to one single room, the narrators. It's described as a privilege, a room of her own. But as we're about to see, every single detail is designed for one thing, and it's not comfort, it's control.
Just let that one sink in for a second. This single observation tells you everything you need to know about the regime's mindset. They're not just worried about the handmaids running away from the compound, they're worried about them escaping altogether. They've removed the very option of giving up.
And you can see how they did it step by step. The hook where a light fixture used to hang, plastered over. The picture on the wall, no glass in the frame you could break. The window itself is shatterproof, and to top it all off, it only opens a few inches. This isn't a bedroom, it's a carefully designed holding cell.
When you're controlled that much on the outside, you have to start controlling yourself on the inside. The narrator calls it rationed thought. She has to actively police her own mind, because remembering too much or thinking too deeply, well, that's dangerous. It leads to despair, and despair can get you killed. It's a survival tactic.
All right, let's talk about one of the most iconic parts of this whole world, the handmaid's uniform. Because you really can't talk about this story without it. It is so much more than just an outfit. It is a symbol of their entire reality.
The color red, it's total. It's an identity that's been forced on them. And I love this tiny detail she adds. Red was never her color. It seems like such a small thing, but it's huge. It means her personal taste, her choices, her former self,
None of it matters anymore. It's all been painted over.
And she tells us exactly what it means. She says red is the color of blood which defines us. The blood of the menstrual cycle, the blood of childbirth. That's it. That's their entire value in this new society, boiled down to a single, stark color. They are walking symbols of fertility.
And then you've got the white wings on their heads. And these are so clever and so incredibly cruel. On the surface, their purpose is to be blinders, to keep the handmaids from seeing what's around them. But the real reason, the true function, is to keep them from being seen, to hide their faces, erase their individuality, and stop a simple glance from turning into a moment of human connection.
There's this devastating moment where she catches her reflection in one of those curved mirrors, and she doesn't even recognize herself. She sees a distorted shadow, a parody. She calls it a sister dipped in blood. The uniform has literally transformed her into something she sees as grotesque and inhuman.
So that brings us to our final section. In a world with this much control, a world built to crush you, how do you fight back? What does resistance even look like? Well, as it turns out, it starts with the smallest, most human acts imaginable. It starts with a whisper.
Let's go all the way back to the gymnasium. Before this system had totally broken them, this is how they started to rebel. It wasn't with big, grand gestures. It was just about connecting, whispering their real names to each other in the dark, learning to lip read, reaching out just to touch someone's hand. It was them saying, I am still here. We are still here.
That spirit of rebellion continues, but it gets quieter, more internal. Just listen to how carefully she phrases this. The door of the room, not my room, I refuse to say my. That tiny little correction, that's the whole fight right there. By refusing to call her prison hers, she's refusing to let it own her. It's this small pocket of freedom that she carves out in her own mind. And this line, "Woo, I hunger to commit the act of touch." It's not a wish or a want. It's a hunger, a physical craving for something that's been denied. It shows you just how deep the starvation goes when the simple, basic act of touching another person becomes a revolutionary crime you long to commit. And this control is it's in everything, even the tiniest details. When she goes shopping, for example, she's given 3 tokens. But look closer, the tokens don't have words on them. They have pictures. And why is that? It's because in Gilead, women are not allowed to read. It's yet another fundamental skill that's been stripped away to keep them powerless.
So you have this world that's been meticulously designed for silence and control, to completely erase the individual. But in the cracks, you find these little sparks of humanity, a whispered name, a silent refusal in your own head, a hunger for touch, which leaves us with this final thought. In a world that's built for silence, just how powerful can a whisper really be?